So a lot of people are asking me to give more examples of how to reduce fractions, so I'm just going to run through the last 6 problems in this worksheet here. So how do we reduce 90 over 84? So if you are struggling, what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, hey, well, what is 90 over 84 divisible by? Obviously, the bigger the number is, the easier your life is, but you don't have to pick necessarily very big numbers. So, for example, we know because it ends in a 0 and a 4, for 90 and 84, respectively, we know that they both are divisible by 2. So I can simply just divide both of them by 2. And this would break down to 45 over 42. Okay? And now, when I look at this, I can see that if I add 4 and 5, I would get 9, and if I add 4 and 2, I would get 6. This means that because the sum of the digits are divisible by 3, then the number is divisible by 3. So that means that I can actually go through now. Let me take that away. There we go. And I'm just going to divide through by 3. So that would give me 15, and that would give me 14, and I'm done. And there's my answer. So the key is, if you could see from the very beginning you could divide through by 6 on both of these, then go ahead and do so. But most students struggle with that, and so as long as you use the properties that we've discussed from before, about 2 and 3, you can easily cut this number up fairly quickly. Also note, you could switch them, so you don't have to do 2 and 3, right? I could have chosen 3 and then 2 in terms of what to divide by. So keep that in mind. Let's move on, and let's look at the next one. So I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to erase all this and do the next one. So the next one is 84 over 144. And again, I'm just going to go simple. I know they're both even, so I'm going to divide by 2. I'm just going to use my divisibility by 2. Some of you are looking at this and you may have thought bigger numbers. That's fine. Use your bigger number. I'm going to stick with 2. So now that I divided by 2, what do I get? Well, 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2, so it's 42. On the bottom, 14 divided by 2 is 7, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So note, if the number divides evenly into each digit, then there is no need for me to do long division. I can just divide evenly into both, and that will suffice. Okay, so now I'm at 42 over 72, and again, I see that they're both even, so I'm going to divide both by 2. And here, once I divide by 2, I'm going to get 21 over, oh, why is this not working here? I'm going to get 21 over 36. Wrong color. Over 36. And again, all I did here for 42 is 4 divided by 2 is 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1. On the bottom, if you know, I know that 72 divided by 2 is 36. However, if you didn't know that and you knew that half of 70 is 35, if it's 72, then you add just one more and you're at 36. If not, then you'd have to do some long division, and that would work as well. Okay? So let me erase that, and let's keep going. As I erase this, I want you to think about what could you divide both 21 and 36 by. And I hope you realize it's not 2 anymore, but as it is, we can definitely divide both by 3. And so if I divide the top by 3, 21 divided by 3 is 7, and if I divide the bottom one by 3, I get 12. And there we have it. Alright, so just cut through. Again, some of y'all might have seen 12 from the very beginning, and if that's the case, use 12. But there's nothing wrong with slowly slicing the problem through. Alright, let me erase this, and let's do the next one. So our next one is going to be 12 over 360. Okay? And here I'm very tempted to just go ahead and I am going to actually do this. I'm going to divide this one by 12. Hopefully you can see that 36 divided by 12, what 36 divided by 12 is. Common real world applications is like there's 36 hours in a day and a half. And so hopefully that's fairly common to you. 12 divided by 12 is obviously 1. 36 divided by 12 is 3. And so it's 1 over 30. And here at the end, we're doing 0 divided by 12. And 0 divided by 12 is going to, 0 divided by anything is just 0. So I don't have to worry about that. That's 1 over 30. But if that isn't how you thought about it and you wanted to keep dividing by 2, you can, you're more than welcome to. All right, let's do the next one. What is it? 15 over 450. Again here, if you've been working through this, you'll start to notice patterns. And so I definitely hope that everyone's able to see that 15 divided by, 45 divided by 15 is 3. What I really wanted to say is 15 times 3 is 45. And so this gives me 1. On the bottom, we'll get left with, I said 45 divided by 15 is 3, so we're left with 30. And there you have it. Let's do the next one. And the next one is much more interesting. So 224 divided by 364. So this one is a little tougher. These numbers are not very common numbers. But again, like I said, if you struggle, if it's even, divide by 2. So this is going to leave me with 1, 1, 2. And on the bottom, it's going to leave me 30. 36 is going to be 18. And 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. So leaves me with 112 or 182. Again, stress, just to be super clear, I am literally going through each of those and dividing those by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is still 1. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. On the bottom, 36 divided by 2, which is not necessarily the most obvious, but hopefully you guys are aware that 36 divided by 2 is 18. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. Again, if you don't know, the American way of doing long division is you ask yourself how many times does 2 go into 3? 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Then you subtract. Drop the digit. So how many times does 2 go into 16? 8. And because it's even, I don't have to keep going. Okay? I mean, you can. You get a remainder of 0. But that will suffice. Okay? So now that we know that, let's keep going. And with 112 over 182. And if you're looking at that, hopefully at the minimum you think 2. So I'm going to tackle with 2 again. Now here, so I don't have to do so much work, I'm going to actually get clever here. So 112 divided by 2, I'm actually going to think of it as 100 plus 12, and each of these are going to be divided by 2. So 100 divided by 2 is 50, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So together that gives me 56. 182 divided by 2, that should be fairly simple for you. 182 divided by 2, you're just going to do 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay? And from here it gets a little tricky, because I'm not for certain about 91 and 50. Well, 56 we know could break down, it's even. But I'm not certain about 91. So, why am I not certain about 91? Because the two rules we've worked on thus far are that it's even, 1 is not even, or 91 is not even, and if you add the digits. But if you add 9 plus 1, you get 10. So that's not going to work. What you're left to do here is you're left to play with this a little bit. And my advice is when you play with this, use the top to try to figure out what the bottom would be. So I know the top is 8 times 7, right? Now, I know that if this is going to work, it's not going to be because of 8, because 8 is even. Well, it could be, but it's very unlikely. So it's better for me to play with 7. So I'm actually going to just take 91 and divide by 7. And look at that. I get 13. So this is just 13 times 7, which means that I am left with, the 7s would divide out, right? And I'm left with 8 over 13. So if the problem is not very clear, the goal here is to try to use the top, breaking up the top number, and see if you can, when I say break up, I mean find the factors. And if you see something peculiar, like for example 7, then my best bet is to go with 7. Using 8 doesn't make sense because 8 is even and 91 is odd. So the probability is higher of finding it with 7 than it would be with 8. Okay, so just a little tidbit. Let me wrap it up with the last one. 315 over 360. And again, if you can see it real fast, go real fast. I am not seeing anything in particular that makes this problem super easy to solve, or maybe I am, but I'm going to say that I'm not. So let's pick something obvious. So something obvious would be to divide both by 5, right? Because they're both divisible by 5. So if I divide the top by 5, I'm going to use the trick of saying 315 is nothing more than 300 plus 15, and I'm going to divide each of these by 5. 300 divided by 5 shouldn't be difficult because 30 divided by 5 is 6, so this is just 60, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. So this breaks down to 63, and on here, 360 divided by 5 is 72. That's a common one. You'll see as you progress in math. Let me just show you real fast. So 5 goes into 36 7 times. It leaves me with 35 with 2 left over and gives me 72. From here, I hope that it's super obvious that 63 and 72 are both divisible by 9. So I'm going to choose 9. I could do 3 if it wasn't. But if you know your multiplication tables, then you know 9 times 7 is 63, and 9 times 8 is 72. And there's our answer. So hopefully this makes sense. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to stop it here, and I'll do another video on the other page. But if you're struggling with these, try to watch this video a couple times. Maybe it'll make it clear for you. Alright guys, see you in the next video.